Hey everybody, Shawn Tubbs here. This is the Anasounds Savage Overdrive. Really versatile little overdrive. It's kind of based on a clone but with some enhancements, and those enhancements happen via some internal switches inside the pedal that are going to allow you to choose between germanium clipping or silicon clipping, which is cool. It allows you to choose between a more traditional tone circuit and maybe a clone type treble circuit just by throwing a switch. And you also have a bass switch in there that's going to allow you to choose between kind of a more kind of bassy bottom end or more kind of mid-centric kind of tone. And there's also a voicing control in there. And that's a potentiometer that's going to allow you to, as you sweep it to the right, the pedal's going to sound a little bit more modern. As you go to the left, the pedal's going to sound a little bit more vintage. In the stock setting, that little potentiometer is about 50%. And then, of course, there is another non-tone centric potentiometer in there that allows you to adjust the brightness of the actual LED on the pedal, and that's kind of cool. The controls on the top are really simple. Top left, you have your output, and there's quite a bit of output on this pedal. It works really great as what I would consider a boost box or a push box, and we'll check that out in the demo. On the right is your tone control, and as I said, that can be either a just kind of your standard tone control or more of a clone style tone control. And then on the bottom you have your gain control, and that's going to obviously adjust the amount of gain on the pedal, and I would consider this kind of a medium to low gain overdrive pedal. And then of course you have your bypass switch. The ins and outs, the jacks are on the front of the pedal, which I really appreciate, and of course you have your 9-volt DC. So without further ado, let's get into this Anasounds Savage Overdrive. Okay, let's take this overdrive pedal for a spin. I'm going to use my Sir Classic Pro Strat into my Sir Bella amp, and I'm going to keep that amp dialed pretty darn clean so we can make this overdrive pedal do the majority of the work. So here's just the amp and guitar. And here's the Savage. So right now I've got it in the stock settings. In other words, this is how it came from the factory. I had explained that it's got some internal switches and controls. So right now what you're hearing is the stock settings. So the bass switch is going to be towards the more kind of medium, kind of mids setting. The clipping switch is on the germanium side. And the treble switch is on more of a classic tone side as opposed to the clone type of voicing. And what I think I'll do is I'll just do a quick segment after this one, and I'll throw some of those switches and let you kind of check out how that sounds. But for now, let's listen to it in stock mode, and we'll go from there. Let's check the output first. So right now what you're hearing is, here's the clean again. You're hearing a little bit of boost in volume, plus of course the gain. What I want to show you guys is how well this pedal works when the gain is just off and we just push the output. So here's the gain off. I'll shut the pedal off one more time. There's just guitar and amp. And here's the Savage with the gain off. So there's just a little bit of enhancement there. There's not a ton of volume boost, but it is a little bit sweeter. I'm just going to start turning up the output. you've got like a really clean amp and you just want to add that little extra something, this really sounds great. So I'll shut it off again. Here's just the amp and guitar. And then here's just using this as a boost box. Almost adds like this kind of open, old kind of Fender tweed kind of breakup and top end on it. So it really sounds good. And then of course you can start using the tone circuit as well if you want to add a little bit more top end to that. Now we're almost getting into kind of Vox AC30 territory. So the tone circuit sounds really great. Pretty much, even almost all the way open, it's not too harsh. There's a lot of top end up there, but it's kind of a sweeter, like I said, almost kind of AC30 top end when you really start pushing it. Okay, so that's the tone and the output. If we're just using this as a push box, now we can start adding gain. So right now the gain's off, and I'm just going to sweep it from left to right. So as I mentioned, the clipping is coming from the germanium side of this guy, and it can definitely get kind of more sizzly and just kind of bitey the more you kind of crank that gain. Now what you can do is you can go ahead and turn the gain down and maybe just have the box push the amp a little bit more as well. So the two guys, the output and the gain, interact really well together. Both those controls are fabulous together. And also if you wanted to keep your levels really low. Yeah, so all three of these controls really interact well together. Okay, so that's the stock setting. What I'm going to do is go ahead and switch this guy over. I think I'll just change the clipping, and let's change the clipping and the treble circuit alone. I'm going to leave the voice and the bass where it is and just change those two settings. So you're going to hear silicone clipping, and you're going to hear more of like a treble control, more like a clon, as opposed to the tone control we've been hearing earlier. So give me a second, I'll be right back. Okay, I've opened up the box and I switched the clipping from germanium to silicone, and I also changed the tone setting from a typical tone setting to more of a treble setting, which would be more like a clon pedal. So let's check out how it sounds. I've got it set up kind of similar to how I had it set up when I first tried the other setting, the stock setting. So once again, here's the guitar into the amp. And here's the Savage. So the clipping is definitely different. There's a little bit more bark there. It's a little bit kind of more, got a little bit more kind of spit to it. The tone circuit is definitely more of a Klon circuit. And as a matter of fact, let's just start there. I'm going to sweep that really quick so you guys can hear it. So here's the tone all the way to the left or off. So you can kind of hear just in the little bit that I turned it up, it's actually adding a little bit of kind of that mid kind of bark thing, which is very kind of Klon typical. So I would say if you're wanting a little bit more bark from this pedal, I would certainly switch it over to the more treble or Klon type of tone circuit. The gain and the clipping, as I said, is a little bit more kind of like spitty. To me, it's a little bit more open. And I'll go ahead and just roll that for you really quick as well. So here's the gain off. Crank the output a little bit. So that is the Anasounds Savage. If you have any questions, go to the website, especially concerning all those internal controls. And as always, I really appreciate you guys tuning in, and I will have another demo video for you soon. Thanks.